let's get this party started. Alright. Let's get this party started quickly. And here we go, boys. Hey, hey, hey!
Power on. 1.
Carol, bring me what I asked for.
Fast forward.
The bag of wool.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What up, Jack? Anita, Kitty, Vina, William Galloway. I'm somewhat organized tonight, y'all. What was that?
Where are they?
They are on the shelf. They should be. Or look around in there inside a box. How are the piglets doing? They're doing pretty good. I need to get a little picture Instagram or something like that. So, cave talk. What I know, right, Jack? Kitty, if they don't know it by now, I don't know what to tell them. You know what I'm saying? Lots of people know my last name already, so cool. But thanks for looking out for me. So we're gonna give everybody the appropriate 5 to 8 minutes to come on in, and then we'll get started. Vina, why is Vina saying ouch? What is she saying ouch about? Vina. Now we're gonna keep this. We're probably gonna have some new folks in here because I advertised a lot about tonight's show in a lot of trapping groups on Facebook. So be 100% sure before you time out or boot anybody, please, mods. Now they're automatically talking hate and stuff towards trappers and outdoorsmen and, you know, crazy stuff like that, then obviously just boot them and ban them. But we want people to learn. And hey, Andy's Backyard and Shop, how you doing? All right, Jack, that's cool. So let's be super vigilant. We might have some, we may not, but just in case we do. Hey, give me some of the white one too.
There is white one there.
I want one that's all white. Don't back talk me. So we're gonna kick it up a notch here in a few minutes. I got tore up by a mosquito, y'all. It ain't even funny. Volume. What about volume? Can you not hear me? It's all the way up. Can you hear me now? What about now? So put that down like that. Maybe that'll help. So give everybody a few more minutes. Get on in here and let's rock the house. You know, guys, let everybody know that we're kicking it. It's a bit low, she says. I have no... See, that's where Robin's job is with everything. So Jack says he hears me fine. Oh no. Like audio, it says it's already up. Okay, hold on. Let's go to settings. Let's go to audio. I don't know, guys. They're saying everything's all the way up. Thank you, my dear. Here, take this one back because I'm going to give away this one. Alright, so, alright. The AC is loud. Okay. Alright, well, what I'll do is, I'm going to go over there for just a second. I'm going to turn the AC down real low. I'm going to get it nice and cool in here, and then I'm going to turn it off. So give me just a second. Alright, give that about 5 minutes and then we'll go ahead and turn that off. So, okay. So, while everybody's coming in, I want to thank you guys for coming tonight. And we're going to start to do this every Thursday at this time. Trapping season's right around the corner for everybody. I know a lot of folks want to maybe dip their toe in the trapping waters. They may want to, they're just interested in it. And there's no, as far as I know, to my knowledge, there's no real good interaction shows like this. I know there's some podcasts and stuff like that out there that they talk about trapping with some big name trappers. You know, but none where you can really interact and stuff like this. Tonight's show is going to be a basic introduction. I'm talking more to kind of the people that are just dipping their toe in the trapping, or they're curious about trapping. And some of you veterans probably are going to dust the old dust and rust off of some of this knowledge here tonight to crank it up. I mean, it's time to get the brains to start thinking about trapping. It's time. We got to get it going. We got a lot to do in such a short amount of time. And so that's what we're going to be doing tonight. And we're going to be doing a giveaway. Now, speaking of giveaway, there's a lot of you know already because you've been to some of the other ones. But we, in a dare, we turned on the super chat, and we got some donations. So what Robin and I are, I'm sorry y'all, I am itching. I got like stepped outside for a second. I got nailed like by like 20 million mosquitoes. What we're going to do with that super chat money is, with Robin's essential oils class and with this class, we're going to be doing a lot of giveaways. And those giveaways cost us money, whether it's in shipping or getting the stuff that we're giving away. So any money that we get from the super chat, that is what that's going for. Robin and I like to be extremely transparent about anything, stuff like that. When you guys donate money, I don't want you guys to know exactly where that's going to. That's what it's going to. So if you guys want to help support either Robin's Essential Oils class or this class, go ahead and hit that super chat. We appreciate it. Okay, enough, well, kind of enough of this solicitation. Now, a lot of you guys have been following me for a while. I've been hinting at a big announcement. Right? I've been tap dancing around something major that was happening here on the Big Bear Homestead. Well, for you 20 plus people that are here right now, here it is. Okay, we're going to do a video about it later, but you guys are in the know because you're here. Robin and I are opening up a trapping supply, trapping outdoorsy type store to go along with our homestead store. So if you want to buy trapping supplies, if you want to, you're thinking about getting into trapping, or you hunt, you fish, before you go to the big box stores, come check out us and our website. Now, we don't have the stuff up on the website yet. Hopefully we'll have that up within the next week or two. It's a lot of stuff Robin's got to get up, and so it's probably going to take her a little bit. So that's the big announcement. We jumped through all the hoops, and we got all of our licenses in place, and all of our I's dotted and T's crossed, and everything. So you guys, and I'm talking something as simple as those T-Rex rat traps or glue boards, MB550s, coon cuffs, anything like that, and anything that we talk about on the Trap Talk show, you will definitely be able to purchase from us. All right, so let's get started in tonight's show. All right. First, for everybody that's new, I don't know how many new folks we got in here, I want to give you guys a brief background of my experience when it comes to trapping. I built my first trap with my grandfather when I think I was younger than Ladessa. I think I was like 7 or 8. It was a rabbit trap. It was a box rabbit trap, and I was hooked ever since. I am a lifetime member of the Georgia Trappers Association. I've held the position of director for a couple of times. I don't think I'm a director anymore with the GTA, because we just had I think we just had elections. We got a new president. I'll be honest with you guys, I haven't been very active in the GTA, and shame on me. I should be, but I got a lot going on here, trying to balance that. But I do try to get to the conventions and the competitions when I can. But we do run a trap line every year. I also hold a nuisance wildlife removal license here in the state of Georgia. I've held that license for the better part of 16 years now. I don't do a lot of Nuco business anymore because of my back injury, and to be honest with you, just trying to find people that will show up to work every day is an accomplishment all on its own when you can find them. But I do hold that license, so if you guys ever have questions about bats, honeybees, squirrels, anything like that, just because it's not a fur bearer, don't be afraid to ask, because I do have experience with nuisance wildlife removal, armadillos, all those kinds of things. So that's about kind of it for me. I mean, I spent almost 10 years in the Marine Corps. I'm a veteran. Most of you guys already know us. I haven't seen a new name in here yet. But that's basically the introduction of me. My bride, the empty chair, make her feel bad. She's not here. We'll pretend there is a beautiful woman right here in spirit. Even though I'm all by myself, don't wanna be all by myself. Okay, anyway. Alright. So, let's talk about a beginning trapper. What does a beginning trapper need to know? As somebody that just wants to maybe dip their toe in trapping. Well, there are some things that you might want to equip yourself. Hold on, let me fix the camera. Maybe this will help with the thing, because I'm sitting up higher and I'm just gonna do it like that. How's that? All right, that's a little bit better. Okay, there are some things that you may or may not want to know. Now, as you work, you definitely want to know, but there are different sources that you can get this information from. Okay, first and foremost, if you're thinking about getting into trapping and you bought your very first trapping license and you are ready to go and you're pumped and you're excited, please reach out to your state association. Like I said, I'm a lifetime member of the Georgia Trappers Association. There's trapping associations in each one of these great 50 states, and they are packed full of individuals that absolutely love the sport, that are willing to help you out in any way they can, so that way they can see this tradition carry on for another generation. So that is the very first thing that I would strongly suggest, especially this time of year. This time of year, a lot of state trapping conventions are going on. Most state trapping associations do have websites. So basically a good Google search would be like South Carolina Trapping Association, Montana Trapping Association, and you'll usually end up right there at them, and you'll have a good contact information to go along to be able to get it. If not, there's also the National Trappers Association that you can get involved with, and I'm definitely sure that those guys would help you be able to get in contact with your state association. Now, some other things that there's going to be some things that you're going to need to get, okay? And right now, because it's not really trapping season mostly anywhere, now's the time to get yourself some books and get yourself some literature. Now, both of these books that I'm fixing to show you are linked in the description of this live stream when it comes back up. You got the Amazon link. Go ahead and click on that. I highly suggest both of these books. The first book I want to talk about is the NTA Guide for Better Trapping, the NTA Handbook, the National Trappers Association Handbook. Okay? Now, this handbook is just a wealth of information. Okay? It goes over how to make different sets. Okay? There's a lot of information in here that even gives you, it talks about ethics. Okay? And it talks about all kinds of stuff in here, especially if a youngin wants to get involved. This is definitely a good book for them to have. It even goes over some basic skinning techniques and stuff like that. It's even got rough bios on most of your FurBearers. Okay, great book to have. Now, the one that I call the Trapping Bible is my go-to book all the time. Okay, is Stanley HawBaker's Trapping North American FurBearers, and as you can see, my book has got some miles on it, brother. Let me tell you. Just like here's an older edition of the MTA book Trapping Guide. You know, same book. This one just a earlier thing. Got some miles on it. Okay. Now I absolutely love this book because Stanley HawBaker is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, name in trapping. He was a big heavy hitter through the 60s and 70s. But he has in here, okay, he does a little introduction. He talks about where to look for fur. He talks, he goes into different sets, recipes on how to make different lures and different baits. And I'll tell you, this book, I was trapping some coyotes one time, and I had an alpha male that was just wearing me out. He was making me look like a 3-year-old with a pacifier. Okay, it was bad. And there's a set in this book that I used, and I got him, and he was a beautiful solid black coyote that had just like tints of white in his fur. Beautiful, beautiful dog. And I wish I had him to this day, but my ex-wife unplugged the freezer, and so, but that's a very short subject, so we're not going to talk about it. But both, I strongly suggest either really I suggest you get both of them, but the NTA Trapping Handbook, A Guide to Better Trapping, or the Trapping North America FurBearers by Mr. HawBaker. Both books, if you had to choose one or the other, for a beginner, I would go with the Bible, what I call the Trapping Bible. I would go with Mr. HawBaker's book. That's, I mean, if you can only afford one of the books, get this book. Okay? Now, other places that you can go to get more information, you know, you might be able to find some of those books in your library, local library, but I doubt it. But obviously you're going to have this show, your conventions, your state associations, and if you are living around in an area where the NTA convention happens to be, then by all means, definitely go to that one. Okay? And then the best thing that you can do is if you get hooked up with your state trappers association, then you get a hold of an old trapper that's willing to help you, and you help him run his line for a year. You will learn so much from that year than you will from any of these books or any videos that you watch of mine or anybody else, or that you could possibly learn from this class. And the main reason being is that trapper knows the behavior of the critters in your area. Because whether people want to actually believe it or not, raccoons behave a certain way in Georgia doesn't necessarily mean they're going to behave the same way in Alabama or Mississippi or Tennessee or Wyoming or any place like that. Okay? They're going to behave differently because their environments are different. Okay? So definitely, you definitely want to try to get a hold of an old trapper and run his line with him for at least one season, if not two. Shoot, if not as many as, run it with him until he says, look man, you gotta go get your own line. Okay? Because he'll be able to hook you up with knowledge. He'll be able to hook you, maybe even be able to hook you up with some landowners that will help you be able to get areas where you can trap. Alright, I'm gonna turn the AC off now. Okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me better now. Alright, so let's get into, we talked about some stuff some beginners need to do straight away. Okay, but let's talk about some stuff the rest of us need to start doing in order to get ready for trapping season. Trapping is one of those sports that you can't just go, yeah, I think I'm going to trap this year. You can't do that and be successful. There are so many things that go into preparing a trap line and to preparing your traps for the trap line that you have to start in the summertime. It's August here. And since July, me, my daughters, and my son have been keeping an eye on the black walnut trees. And we'll get to that in a minute. But you have to start getting your mind going into trapping season. Okay, there's lots of things that we have to do. Okay, one, if you're a veteran trapper, now's the time that you start inspecting your traps. You're looking at your chains, your triggers, your anchors, drags. You're checking out your springs, your coil springs, your springs on your connies, all those things. You're inspecting them to make sure that they're in working order. If not, now's the time that if you don't have the spare parts, You got to order the spare parts, which you can do from me, and get the stuff that you need and get those traps fixed. Get them in working order. Get them cleaned up. Take a wire brush to someone, get some of that old, at least here, get some of that old Georgia clay off, and get it off, get it going, get it cleaned up. Make sure everything is in proper working order. Make sure swivel. Make sure your triggers fire. Make sure your springs are still strong. If they're getting kind of weak, take them off and replace them, because the last thing you want to have on a trap line is to spend a few minutes making a real beautiful coyote set and come to a pull out because those coil springs were not strong enough. Bass Family Haven asks, are traps expensive, especially when first starting out, like footholds and such? Well, bass, that's the great thing about this sport. You can order a dozen traps, 2 dozen traps, half a dozen traps, or 1 trap. Your average trap can run anywhere from like $6-7 a piece up to $12, $13, $14 a piece. It really depends on what critters you are targeting, and it really your interest level. Now, there are some great starter kits out there that you can buy for $100, $200 to get you going through your first season. I strongly recommend those. We have something in the works that we're going to be doing a video about here in the next couple of weeks that is targeted specifically for homesteaders. So Bass, you might want to keep an eye out for that one. That one might be a good one to work. But trapping can be as expensive as you let it. Now, once you get here is the caveat. Once you start trapping and you fall in love with trapping, yes, trapping can get expensive. Fur prices are down real low, so you're not into trapping to make money. You know, you'll never really come out in the black, especially if you include your time. But the nice thing is, and I'll be honest with you, I do it more because just about all 3 of my kids are right there with me, and I don't have to chase after them. They're not running the streets. They're not doing anything like that. They're right there beside me in the beaver swamp or out there in the pasture or out on open trails in the woods, and they are doing their best. And my children are very good at smack talk. So when they catch something and I don't, sometimes I try to run back to the truck to leave them in the woods. Haven't been very successful yet with that, but it's coming. But trapping can be somewhat expensive. Again, it's all on what you put into it. It's all on what you want to put into it. Keeping It Dutch asks, what's the hardest animal you have trouble trapping? To be honest with you, all of them. Because you can at any point in time have that one critter that's got that one personality, or that has been educated because he was able to pull out of a trap, or a trap misfired and it just nicked him, and so now he's educated. So those type of critters always make for a good challenge, but it's also a great reward when you catch them. And sometimes, just like our one friend, not mentioning any names, YouTube land, you can put a trap out and you think you have it secured and you're tugging on it and you're not making it move, but then you catch a big honking boar coon in it and he just walks out with fence post and all, because it was an old wooden fence post, and now he's walking around the woods like Captain Hook, hobbling with a dog proof on his arm. You know, so when it comes to the most challenging animal, I would just, and I'm not trying to be cheesy or anything, Dutch, but I mean, Coyotes can produce a challenge, but so can raccoons and, you know, beavers. But they're all definitely fun to catch. Now, I think it was Uncle Buck asked if I use snares. I do not use snares on my trap line. Here in the state of Georgia, snares have to be placed in water for water critters. They have to be in the water or within 10 feet of water. And so that's beavers, otters, muskrats, mink when we can find it, and those like that. And I've watched some boys use some snares, and if you can't get it on a drowner and that beaver doesn't go straight to the water and straight drowns, he can chew out of it. And it could cut him up and the fur up, and then you just wasted that wonderful animal unless you eat him, which I do. But that's neat. I don't like snares. Now I'll use snares in a survival situation, because there's really not a market for fur in that situation. But on my trap line, no, I leave the snares in the bug out bag. Okay. Now, when you're getting ready for trapping season, we've done our inspection, got all of our traps looking good, because this is our second line. Our first line, we're getting all of our information together. And here's a very, how would you say? This is experience talking. If you're going to run the trap line for the very first time ever, pick a critter. Pick one critter and learn about as much as you can about that critter. Like most people, like with my kids, like my girls, I started them when they were old enough to hold onto my boot as we went into the woods. I started them on squirrels. And then they went to muskrats. If you're older than like 5, start with muskrats. You need some number 1s, some 110s. Learn everything you can about the biology of a muskrat. Okay? Go out there and be able to identify the runs, the slides, the dens. Make you some homemade stands if you can't afford to buy the stands. Get you some of those 110s, get you some of those little number 1s, and wear them out. You can spend, I don't know, 100, 150 bucks, get you some number 1s, get a half a dozen number 1s, half a dozen 110s, and wear them out. Get in that water, get yourself some hip waders, get in that water and wear out those muskrats. And then next year, do muskrats again, but this time stay around that water and get you some coon cuffs. Start wearing out the coons. Because through that whole season, when you start wearing out those muskrats, okay, you're going to learn all the kinds of things about the muskrats in your area, all their little personalities and all their little tricks and all the little things that they do. Okay, but then you're also going to learn how to skin it, how to flesh it, how to put it up, so that way when you do sell it, you can make a little bit of money. And then take that money that you make and reinvest it into your trapping, you know. And then buy you some coon cuffs. And then run muskrats and coon cuffs the following season. Okay? And then start to be more adventurous. The following year after you did coons and that, maybe add beavers and otters. Start really expanding, you know. Do not go too fast, okay? Stay where you're comfortable, because the last thing you want to do is to get in over your head, okay? Because then you'll get frustrated, and then that robs you of the joy of this sport, okay? Baby step it, go after those muskrats, and go after those coons, and all of that, okay? Everybody's saying talk louder. How many people are having an issue with hearing me tonight? I know Ricky Wallace is, but it seemed like he was the only one there for a little bit. I don't understand what's going on. We haven't really changed anything. But, I mean, according to the mic thing here, everybody, I'm hitting right in the middle. So, I don't... Robin's not here, man. Quit picking on me. Okay, Kitty's having an issue too. A lot of YouTube vids are now being lowered volume. Okay. So it might be a YouTube thing, and there's nothing that I can do about it, guys, and I do apologize. I'll try to speak up louder. Okay. So that's what you do if you're a beginner. Okay? Let's focus on one critter the first year. Get your traps. Get them set up. Go out there and enjoy yourself. Okay? So, now, if you're a returning trapper, that meaning this is your second or 132nd trapping season, there are some different things that you need to be doing right now in order to be prepared for next year's trapping season or this year's trapping season. Okay? You need to clean those traps from last year because every last one of us is guilty. The trapping season's over. We had a great time, but we're exhausted. We take our traps and we hang them on the nail in the fur shed, and we'll see you next year, kind of thing. Because let's be honest, running a trap line, skinning the fur, fleshing the fur, stretching it, tanning it if you tan it, that calls for some very long days in the trapping shed, in the fur shed. Like my wife calls herself a trapping widow. She doesn't really see me unless she comes out during the trap line during trapping season. I love you, honey. But get them cleaned. This is when, again, you test everything. You're making sure all your springs are intact, your triggers are working, your swivels are working, your anchoring system, whether it's a bullet anchor, an earth anchor, a drag, all that stuff's good to go. And boom. Okay. Now once you've done that, you got them all cleaned, you want to lay them out in the sun and hose them down really well. So that way you'll add an extra coat of rust. But before you do that, I almost forgot. Before you do that, you pretty much have to boil your traps. The ones that you put wax on the year before, you have to boil them. And what that does is it gets the wax that's on your traps hot, okay? And that wax will rise to the top, and you can either skim it off, or a lot of guys, they usually have like a metal 55-gallon drum, and they got it filled up with water, and they get that water to a rolling boil, whether they put a fire underneath it, or if they're using like a big stock pot or something like that, they'll get it to a boil. Okay, but at the very top part of it, they'll have a valve where they can open it up. You place your traps in there and you let it boil and you let all that wax come to the top, and then they open up that valve, and then all of the wax on top of that water will run out that valve. So then it's safe to bring your traps back out. And then you bring your traps back out and you set them outside. You do that for every trap that you had waxed. And you let it sit out there, and you let them sit out there for about till, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on how many traps you got, until trapping season starts. Okay? You want those traps to get a good coat of rust on them. All right? Then, after that, so now we're about 2 weeks trapping season's out. Okay, 3 weeks trapping season's out. Really, for me, it's about a month. Then, I have a certain barrel that I use every year. Okay? And we have to do what they call dye our traps. Now, the reason why you got to rush your traps is so that way the dye will take to the trap. Now, there are many different dyes out there. There's a speed dip. I've never used it. I've heard pros and cons of both. One of the things that I've heard negative about it is that you've got to do it like 6 months prior to trapping season because it does have a stink to it. I don't know. I've never used it. I'm like Mr. Galloway, and I'll get to that in a second. There's also a logwood trapping dye. Now, I meant to have examples of these here with me, but I plumb forgot. And but I'll have it next week to show you guys. But it's just like a bag that you can order from us or any other trapping supply company, and it's logwood trapping dye crystals. And what you do is you get your water and then you put these crystals into the water. And then that is the dye that'll go onto your traps. Now, if you're lucky and you have access to black walnuts, we gather about 5-gallon buckets and we'll get 3 or 4 of them. And what we do is we'll fill that 5-gallon bucket full up with the black walnuts, and then we'll fill it up with water and let it sit for about 24 to 48 hours. And then we'll take that bucket, because it'll leach out a lot of the properties in the black walnut that'll dye your trap. Because anybody that has ever messed with the black walnut, you know, if it gets wet and that stain gets on your hand, you pretty much just got to let it wear off. So then we take that 5-gallon bucket and we pour it into our drum of water that we've got a fire underneath that we're bringing up to a boil. And then we take our traps and we soak them in there and we let them sit under there with the heat and the fire underneath them for a good anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes, depending upon the amount of traps I have in there, and if it's whether or not it's the first time I'm dyeing this trap, or if it's like the 100th time I'm dyeing this trap. My time varies. And as your experience grows, you'll be able to adjust the time that those set of traps go in there. Now, side note, when you're dyeing your traps, it's okay to take your number ones, and let's say you got a couple of dozen of them. I like to put mine in groups of 5 or 6. Mostly it's always 6. I like even numbers. 6. And wire them together and put it on a thing and then drop it down in. And to separate them like that, you don't have to do them one at a time. You can do them in groups like that, and it makes it go a little bit faster. Okay? Let them traps sit in there, soak up the dye, pull them out, hang them somewhere up to dry, somewhere where they won't, not out in the weather. And let them dry for about 24, 48 hours. Let them get good and dry. From that moment on, you should be handling your traps with leather gloves on. Okay? Then you're going to go into a waxing stage. Now, most of your trapping supply companies, including us, have blocks of trapper's wax that you can use. But you can also use beeswax. A lot of guys, and I'm one of them, swear up and down by the beeswax. I am probably going to start getting top bar beehives just because the beeswax works so much better than the other wax. But if all you can get is the other wax, it works. It works good too. It's just one of those things. That's my personal opinion. There may be a couple of other trappers in here to be like, you're an idiot. The commercial wax is just fine, and I use it, blah, 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 blah. But again, personal preference. I love the beeswax. And then you melt down this wax, and then you dip the entire trap in this wax. Now, this is mostly for your footholds. You don't want to wax coon cuffs, or you don't want to wax any of your connies. And you definitely don't want to wax anything that you're putting in the water. There's no need for it. You can, it's not going to hurt, but I wouldn't, because it could make it slippery and it could become dangerous. I don't wax any of my connies or anything that I'm putting in the water, and I don't wax my coon cuffs. And then you let them hang, and then you don't touch them till you're putting them in the ground, till you're setting them for those critters. But you're not done yet. Okay? That right there is probably taking you about a month, maybe 2, depending on your workload and how much free time your wife gives you to be able to go out and get this stuff done. Now the real work begins, because you got to clean your fur shed. You've got to sweep the floor. You've got to inspect all of your fur boards, whether you're using the wire stretchers or board. You got to make sure that you've got enough push pins or staples or nails. You got to make sure, if you use hoops for beavers, you got to make sure they're in working order. If you got to spray WD-40 on them to get them unrusty, whatever. You got to make sure, if you're using hoops, that you've got enough twine or sewing thread that you can sew the footholds closed on your beaver hides. You got to make sure your fleshing beam doesn't have any nicks in it that you need to sand down from last year's fleshing beam. And you also need to check your knives. Now, let me say this. Just like traps, just like guns, not all knives are created equal. Now, let me move this over here for a second. I used to skin with this knife right here. This knife is considered by most the best skinning knife on the market out there. I no longer skin with this hunk of junk, because to me, once I found the knife that I've got now, this knife is trash. And this knife is an expensive knife. I don't like it anymore, because it doesn't hold an edge whatsoever. Okay? Nothing. Nothing. Okay? This one's only about 2 years old. I should have plenty of life left in this knife, but I don't. This is the knife I now use. This is my skinning knife. This knife was given to me by Ricky Wallace. Ricky Wallace runs and owns Wallace Knife Works in Homestead. He's in the chat box right now. Okay, this is my skinning knife that I use from Ricky. Now, I'm not going to even attempt to do what I did with that knife, with this knife. Ricky's knives come just crazy sharp. He hand makes every one of these knives. And these knives have, where's it at? Whoop. Let's see if you can see it. Bam. His mark on it. His craftsman's mark. Okay? Look at that edge. You can see it. Okay? Compared to this one, which one would you rather skin with? You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Okay? And they all come with nice leather sheaths. He stamped a bear and an American flag on this one for me. And somebody made a comment that I am spoiled from Ricky's knives. I am. Any experienced trapper in here will tell you one of the hardest things about trapping sometimes is good working knives and keeping a good working knife. And the hardest one to keep good and sharp is a beaver knife. Okay? Because beavers are tough. All right, they got a lot of fat. And they got a lot. They got a lot of gristle, and they're big bodied. I mean, you can have beavers weigh up over 100 pounds on a beaver. Okay, at least down here. And I had one of them cheap knives that you can get from the trapping supply that was supposed to be the best one ever. Well, I hate to tell them they're not the best one ever anymore. You guys that's been watching us for a long time, you guys remember this bad boy. Okay? There's Ricky's beaver knife after one season of being used. Look at that. The edge still there. Still there. This knife has some weight to it. You can't be a schoolyard sissy and work this knife all day long. But that's wonderful. You know why? Because now I'm no longer going pushing super hard. We tested his knife out against the other knife that I had. I had to push hard with that other knife. Out of instinct, I grabbed Ricky's knife and I pushed just as hard, and I went all the way through the beaver. And Blaze and I, we had a little bit of a laugh. And then we were like, okay, gotta be careful with this knife. And this knife probably weighs maybe a pound. I don't know, Ricky, how much do you think this knife would weigh? But it's a great, great knife. You can't go one beaver with the commercial knife and not have to sharpen it. I skinned with this knife right here, with this edge that is still there, 14 beavers last year. By the time he got me this one, driving season was almost over. So that says a lot there. And I haven't sharpened it yet. I haven't had to. Now, I take a little bit of beaver fat and I put it on all of his blades. That helps extend the life of the blade. Jano told me that. Okay. Now, you also, okay, we've got the skinning knife for your raccoons, your possums, your coyotes, your foxes, all of those. You got your beaver knife for your beavers, otters, bad boys like that. Okay? Boom, boom. Now you got the skin off. Well, what do? Well, again, I have a Necker fleshing knife. I didn't even bring that in, and I should have. It's supposed to be the best one on the market, the Necker. Well, let me tell you, my boy Ricky Wallace did it again. Here's Ricky's fleshing knife. Okay? Dull on one side. Okay? And maybe a little too sharp on this side. Okay, you just got to be careful. Now, when I'm fleshing beaver and otter, I love how sharp this is. It's got some good weight to it, so you don't have to push as hard. The knife does all that for you. And he also put his mark on there, and for some reason he put a nickel in there. I haven't figured that out yet, but that's Ricky's crazy like that. He does cool stuff like that. Then if you're going to tan your own hides, or even you can use this as a one-handed fleshing knife, he also has this. Now, I am talking to Ricky about putting together a trapper's package that has all of the stuff in here that I show. You can go to Ricky's website via a link in the description of this live stream in this video once it's up. And you'll be able to link to it. He does more than just what you see here. He's got household knives and stuff, and he can make sheaths out of just about everything. I heard he's making some out of catfish hides and now. So that's really cool. Okay. Now, here's one of the major things when it comes to trapping. If you are going to do it, then surround yourself with good equipment and good tools. How does that skinning knife hold up on a beaver? William, you know, I haven't used it on a beaver yet. I just used a beaver knife. Beaver knife was more than enough. I don't like using pointed knives on my beavers because when you're going with a beaver and you're going through that motion and you're pulling, I always sweat the tip nicking the hide. So that's one of the reasons why, if you notice, a beaver knife is rounded. Okay, so that way when you're on there and you're going whoosh, 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 around the belly and everything, you don't stand a good chance of poking and nicking the hide. So I don't know about that. So that answers your question. All right, now we're getting close to the end, and there's a homestead channel that's up next, and Kitty told me, and I forgot. I think it's Wholesome Roots. Are you guys up next at 8 o'clock? I think. I don't know. Somebody let me know. But anyway, it comes to the time now that I'm going to do a giveaway. I'm going to give away this bag of sheep's wool. Now, this comes from our sheep from here on our homestead. This is pretty much the belly wool from when they sheared the sheep. Okay, it's not really good for much of anything but trapping. This one's kind of a white in color. Very good for eye attractant. Very good to get that critter's attention. We did not remove any of the lanolin from it, so it still has the smell of sheep, which is also an added benefit. And so if you're an experienced trapper, or you are getting into trapper, or if you are just trying to do predator control work on your own homestead, and you got problems with foxes and coyotes, bam, right here. Okay. So, whoop. So how are we going to go about giving this puppy away? Well, I talked about a lot of stuff tonight. So I'm going to ask a question. And whoever is the first one to get it correct will win this bag of eye attractant. Okay? In the very beginning of the show, I was talking about books. Which book did I refer to as the Trapping Bible? Which book did I refer to as the Trapper's Bible, the Trapping Bible? Kitty, can you tell me who's on next? Wholesome Roots, I'll take as much as you can give me. As much as you can get me. Now, as we're waiting for the answers to come up, I definitely want to Sullivan Family Homestead is up next in about 2 minutes, so I want to make sure you guys get over there. While we're waiting on the answer, I definitely want you guys to go check out Ricky Wallace's website. Order some knives from him. He may even become a sponsor of this show, so show him some love. He has a YouTube channel. Bam! Go over there and subscribe it. None of y'all have been paying attention, or y'all just don't want the sheep's wool. Okay, I'm going to remember that when I'm handing out half a dozen traps. Uh-huh. I'll remember that. Just to show in the world. Y'all don't remember, do you? Y'all don't remember what I was even talking about. William Galloway, Trapping North American FurBearers by Stanley HawBaker. William Galloway, sir, if you could, please email me your address, and I will ship this big old bag of sheep's wool out there to you. And we will get that out there to you. You can email me at bigbearfarms@hotmail.com. That's bigbearfarms@hotmail.com. Cab7 hits us with a $10 donation. Thank you, Cab7. We appreciate it. Want to remind everybody that when you bounce, like what Cab7 just did to support this channel, we are using all of the super chat funds that come in. We are using that money to help with the free things that we're giving away. Whether it's traps, eye attractant, Robin's essential oils. We're using all of that money that we got to purchase the things that we're going to be giving away and to use it for packaging and shipping. So thank you so much, Cab. We appreciate it. It is now 8 o'clock. I want you guys to head on over to Sullivan Family Homestead. You guys, thanks for coming by. We ran 30 tonight. That's not a bad number. Share this new show around. Let's get some more people in here. Let's get it rocking and rolling. Next week, we are going to talk about coon cuffs. We're going to talk about a trap. I want to do coon cuffs, but I don't know if I'll be able to get some of the things that I want to talk about and show you guys side by side. Okay, we're probably going to end up talking about like a 110 or 330, but we're going to talk about a specific trap next week. It's going to be all about this trap, about the different sets that you can do, the safeties that you need, if any needed, the safe way to handle it, the whole nine. Okay, so you guys go on over to Sullivan Family Homestead. Tell them Big Bear sent you. I appreciate y'all coming by. Cav7, once again, thank you, brother. Thank you for the donation. We appreciate it. That's awesome. Love you. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And don't forget, we'll be back on Saturday where we're just going to be chewing the fat. And then Sunday is Mama's Essential Oils class. So we'll see you guys then. Till then, y'all have a great rest of the week. Remember, be kind to one another. Be kind. And do your part to help take care of this planet, because it's the only one we got. Whoa, Fanny Urban Homesteader with $50. Whoa, thank you. I see I was signing off and she busted. Woo! Wow. Wow, Fanny, thank you so much. There are going to be some big giveaways coming up now. I'm just going to tell you that much right now. Fanny Urban Homesteader, thank you so much. Wow. So, okay. I don't want to take up any more of Sullivan Family Homestead's time. They're a great family. They're a great channel. Y'all going over there. If you're not sub to them, get in there and sub to them. Tell them Big Bear sent you. And thank you, Fanny. Thank you, Cab. You guys are awesome. We appreciate it. Love you guys. And I got to get out of here before I get choked up. Appreciate y'all. Bye.